Hi, John with Mayco here. This video is going to show you how well our crystal glazes, both jungle gems and crystal lights, work really well in conjunction and combinations with other Mayco glaze lines, like Elements or Stroke Coat or even Cascades. So I'm going to show you how to create this beautiful designer bottle using a variety of glazes all together and how well they play well with others. So to begin the painting process of this bottle, to create the combination, we're going to visually divide this up into 3 spaces. Now if you'd like to mark this off, you can take a marker or a pen or a pencil and just kind of make a little bit of a mark for yourself, just so you can kind of tell, where each of the different segments are going to go. So let's just quickly go around here. This marker is going to burn away during firing. It's just going to give me kind of a target to shoot for, so I know as I'm dividing this up into sections, I'll know where to go. So we're going to start at the top of the bottle, starting with Stroke Coat. I'm using Blue Isle with my soft fan brush. I'm going to really fill it up nice and full because we want to flow on a generous coat. So my fan brush is full of Stroke Coat. Now I'm just going to start gliding this on to the top third area. Now don't worry about being perfect down at that bottom. We're going to be staggering and overlapping these coats over one another, so it's not necessary for you to be neat with that line. It's just something to give you a target to shoot for. So I'm flowing this on and reloading my brush each time so it's nice and generous. So you're going to be applying 3 smooth, even flowing coats of this Blue Isle Stroke Coat to the top of the bottle. I also like to paint a little bit to the inside, as far as my brush can reach, down inside of this bottle, so that when it's standing there, visually you can see how it has a nice blue color. It'll look like I've painted the whole inside with blue. So you're going to let the color dry just enough till the shine disappears, and then proceed with each coat, giving a total of 3 coats of Blue Isle to the top of the bottle. The next step is going to be applying Black Ice Element Glaze to the bottom third of our bottle. Now it's important to know about black ice. It has a tendency to flow a bit when it fires. So you're going to apply 1 coat over the entire bottom third of the bottle, including the bottom. Nice flowing coats with a nice fully loaded soft fan brush. Then what I want to show you is about glaze staggering. So the next coat, instead of going all the way to the very bottom, I'm going to start just slightly above the bottom to add my second coat. Now you would allow this to dry enough that the shine was gone and I wouldn't pull up or disturb that previously applied coat. So now let's just pretend that that has dried for the sake of this video. And now our third coat is going to go just slightly above that second coat bottom line. So I'm going to stagger again. I'm going just slightly higher. Now I'm going to assume that this black ice glaze, during its firing to shelf cone 0506, it is going to sink down or drip down just slightly so that it goes all the way down to the bottom of my bottle, even though I have only 1 coat applied there. So we're going to allow for some sagging during firing with this particular glaze. And now for the star of the show, our Jungle Gem Crystal Glaze. We're going to use this on the center section, and this is where the real combination is going to happen. So we're going to use 3 different glazes, all layered on top of one another, with the beginning and the end with Blue Azure Jungle Gem. Now with any of our crystal glazes, remember it's important to get down in there and stir those crystals up, because they're hanging out at the bottom of the jar. So I'm just going to use the back end of my paintbrush and get down in here and really combine all of that. So when I dip my brush in, I'm going to be sure to have crystals in every brushful. Just clean this off. Now another little trick is to actually pour that completely mixed up Jungle Gem right onto a palette, so that when my brush is going in, there's no place for those crystals to hide. Every time I dip in, I'm going to be grabbing some. So I'm going to go right into the crystal glaze here. See, I can just reach in and see them to be sure I'm getting them right on my brush with every brushful. If I was working out of the jar or a cup, they'd be sinking down to the bottom, and there's a chance I wouldn't get the right amount of crystals each time I applied it. So I'm going to just apply this right to the center area, but I am deliberately going to slightly overlap both the Stroke Coat that we started with and that black ice that I put to the lower third of this, just a little bit, maybe a half inch or so. And I'm going to put on a nice, even, generous coat. Now I'm looking to make sure that it doesn't look really streaky. So the first coat is just as important as the last coat. So look at your stroke as it's going down. Make sure it's a nice, even tone of color. So we're going to let that dry for just a minute. I'm going to rinse my brush. And you'd wait till the shine is completely gone from that color. It's not necessary for it to be completely dry, just so that the shine is off, so I'm not going to disturb it too much. Now for the sake of this video, I don't have the luxury of waiting for it to dry completely to go on, but you're going to see this patting motion I'm going to do is going to work just fine. So my next color, I'm going to go into the clear Cascade. Now Cascade is a glaze modifier. It is going to make glazes that typically non-toxic, not flowing, it's going to make them flow. It's going to give them a little bit of movement. Now instead of brushing this on, I'm actually going to just pat this on. Now you're going to let this first color dry a little bit more than I have here, but I'm just going right over it. Just pat, pat, pat. So we have a generous coat of this Cascade right over that blue Azure crystal. Then I'd allow that to have the shine disappear, and then I would go right into my next color, which is an element glaze. Now an element glaze is kind of a rutile glaze, meaning it has more than one shade to it. So it's kind of an art glaze. And I'm going to do the same thing right over my Cascade with the sea spray. So this is going to color the background of my jungle gem, which is typically kind of a light blue, and this is going to give it a little bit more of an aqua green cast, because whatever glaze you put on top of a jungle gem kind of alters the background color a bit. So I'm patting this on generously, one coat. You see how I'm just building up the layers. So this is how you use crystals in combination. We're sandwiching it between different layers of different colors or different products. And a lot of that flowing that you see in the finished sample, that's really going to become more evident after the piece is fired. So let me give my brush another quick rinse. And then our final coat will be back to the star, which is crystal glaze, that same blue Azure that I applied first. So bring my plate back over, and I'm just going to, again, pick up plenty of those crystals. And because this is still a little bit wet, I can go ahead and do that patting motion rather than a brushing motion. If your piece is a little bit drier than mine, you could actually just brush it on the way we began. Either technique application will work great. So I'm just patting this on over the top of the other two colors, and voila, this piece is now finished. Now it's important to let this dry before it goes into the kiln. You're going to set it on a stilt and fire it to shelf cone 05, 06. So our glazes have a firing range of 05 to 06. Now this is a vase, and if you did want it to hold water, you could use our crystal clear brushing glaze that has been slightly diluted with some water, pour it to the inside, roll it around, dump out the excess so that it would have a watertight finish on the inside. So as you can see, using crystal glazes in combination is just very simple to do. It's very fast, but boy, it looks like $1,000,000. It's a beautiful technique that anybody can do. So now that you see how well the different glaze families all work together, now we know that crystals can go alongside or right on top of or in between any of the product lines. Cascades, Elements, Stroke and Coat, you name it, the Mayco Glaze family all gets along with each other.